name is Amy Chavez, and I am a doula. We decided to get a doula because of the difficulty and the trauma I had birthing this one here.
The reason that we decided to get a doula is because with my first birth, I had a C-section, and it was very unwanted, so I wanted to have a VBAC.
I believe that the core role that I play as a doula in the birth process is to help the woman particularly and the couple as a whole feel safe and feel supported. She made me understand what it was about me, what it was that I was afraid of, and what my feelings were about the birth to come. Some of the skills and tools that I bring to my doula practice that are very unique are the body work aspect. We do prenatal massage, stretches, some things that can help with optimal fetal positioning.
The reason that I chose Amy to be my doula was because the first time I had ever talked to her, immediately I felt the urge to open up to her about my first experience with my birth.
As well as the somatic trauma resolution work, working with the emotional experiences, working with trauma that may have happened before. Oftentimes, if women are not seen and heard and respected in the birth experience, in the birth process, it will definitely leave them with a sense of trauma. Just as I went into active labor, in walked this nurse who didn't make eye contact with me. And it was kind of a humiliated experience because I was on my back, opened up to her. Shame, can often be a very real experience of trauma.
There's a lot of medical interventions that I really didn't want, but felt coerced at the time, whether it was just, because fear was instilled in me or just because I wasn't encouraged enough.
I felt incredibly vulnerable and like I was taking too long. I wasn't doing it right. Women can have the somatic experience of trauma, can be holding on to trauma from messages that they've received about not being good enough. I had third-degree tears with the first birth, and I was drugged up from the epidural. And so I had a hard time with nursing. My daughter didn't latch very well, and we didn't bond very well. And this was always something really sad for me, even though I made up for it later. I have a master's degree from Goddard College in integrated health, arts, and sciences, where I was able to focus on the neurobiology of trauma.
She sits down with you at your prenatal appointments, and she does a technique where you actually process that memory.
I meet with the woman at least 4 times throughout the pregnancy. So the prenatal appointments help me prepare for the birth. Well, first of all, by just changing my attitude from one of fear to one of excitement.
You're not traumatized anymore by what happened before, and you could move on and focus on the new birth and not be hung up on what happened before. And that was a really big thing for me. That was, I think, what set Amy apart from other doulas. Amy was just so wonderful at the birth.
So I needed somebody that I trusted 100%, and that was Amy. And no other doula that I interviewed could have filled that role for me. When a woman feels safe and feels supported, then you have the hormonal orchestration that we need to have happen.
There was a time during my labor after maybe 15 hours or so that I just kind of stalled out. Contractions pretty much stopped for a couple hours. That had happened in my first birth with my son. And with the first time, it was like, oh, the doctor was like, oh, there's something, what's wrong with you? You're not progressing very well. Oh, it's very slow. Ooh, and it was just this real negative language, totally discouraging.
Birth in our culture has become rather institutionalized, and the scope of normal has become very narrow, when in fact the scope of normal is very wide.
She described that as my body knowing that it needed to stop and rest and give me a break from the pain, and that's exactly what it did. And so as a result, soon after I started progressing again, and it was just so wonderful getting that encouragement at a time that could have been scary.
I had much less tearing the second time. I was up on my feet much faster with the natural birth, had no problems nursing, and bonded with my son magnificently. We do lactation support early on.
I think the character traits that make Amy a great doula is her poise and her intuition.
I think she has this intuitive sense, but also that's grounded in scientific understanding, and she's incredibly intelligent. But she also is really warm and makes you feel good in her presence.
And she's so invested in it with you, and it doesn't feel like, a detached healthcare professional.
She's very open to different kinds of views and works with the different personalities.
Right? She's not all about you have to have a natural birth and that's the only way it's got to be. It's like she's like you have to have your birth and it could look any number of ways.
In retrospect, after the first birth, I wish there had been a doula there to help to help guide me in a situation where my mind is completely taken up with something else.
I would say that you had a more active role to play in the second birth with Amy than you did
Right.
in the first place. Definitely.
Absolutely right. I think so. Yeah.
She's worth every penny, in my opinion. There's a sense in which you can't even put a price on what she does.
I was much more confident in what I was doing. If I needed some help, I asked her. She sometimes took over and I stepped back, and then I imitated what she was doing.
I don't think I could have done it without her. I mean, I'm pretty certain I would have gotten the epidural had Amy not been there.
I think one of the concerns that people talk about is whether you want to invest money in getting a doula. And I'd say that in retrospect, that is a no-brainer. It is so worth it, really. It makes everything better. It makes it emotionally better. You bond with your children better.
It's just an experience that I continue to draw strength from and continue to feel powerful.
I have the privilege of witnessing women accessing strength and will and power that they may not have even known that they had inside of them. Amy made me feel like a warrior, right? And that's an incredibly empowering feeling to have.